It was an ordinary Tuesday afternoon when a nurse, with urgency in her eyes, approached Robert Sterling, a powerful and wealthy millionaire, just as he was about to step into his car for an important meeting. Laced with caution, her words halted him in his tracks. "Please, don't go to your meeting. If you do, something terrible will happen." Skeptical but intrigued, Robert hesitated. Little did he know, those words would be the beginning of a day that would forever change his life, and the lives of those around him. Robert Sterling, a man in his mid-40s, had built a business empire from the ground up. His life was defined by control, precision, and meticulous planning. Every move he made was calculated, and every decision was weighed with the gravity of a man who had everything to lose. His meetings were not just meetings, they were power moves, pivotal moments that kept his empire running. That afternoon, he had an important meeting lined up, a negotiation to finalize a multi-million-dollar deal that would expand his reach even further. Missing it wasn't an option. But as Robert stood outside the hospital where he had just visited a friend, a nurse named Emily appeared from nowhere, interrupting his thoughts. There was something unsettling about her demeanor. Her eyes were wide, her voice soft but intense. "Please, Mr. Sterling," she said, her voice shaking slightly, "don't go to your meeting. I can't." As Robert drove through the bustling city, Emily's warning echoed in his mind, gnawing at the edges of his thoughts. The nurse's eyes, filled with a strange mixture of fear and certainty, lingered with him. What could she possibly have meant? Was it a mere coincidence, or was there something more? But Robert pushed those thoughts aside. He had never been a man to let fear or emotion cloud his judgment. He was successful because he trusted facts and figures, not gut feelings. Yet, as he approached the glass skyscraper where the meeting was to take place, a gnawing sense of unease crept into his chest. Inside, the boardroom was filled with men in tailored suits, their faces serious, their eyes fixed on Robert as he walked in. The meeting commenced as planned, the air thick with tension as negotiations moved forward. The numbers were discussed, contracts reviewed, and everything seemed to be going smoothly. But beneath the surface, something was brewing. As the clock ticked closer to noon, Robert's phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced at the screen, an unknown number. Normally, he would have ignored it, but something urged him to answer. Stepping out of the room, he picked up the call. "Mr. Sterling," a familiar voice came through. It was Emily. "Please, leave the building right now. There's no time." As Robert made his way outside, gasping for fresh air, the reality of the devastation hit him. The skyscraper he had entered only an hour earlier was now engulfed in flames, the windows shattered, and smoke billowing into the sky. Emergency responders flooded the scene, sirens blaring as they worked to control the situation. But Robert couldn't shake the thought of Emily. How had she known? What had she seen that no one else could? His instincts, honed over years of corporate battles, told him that this was no mere coincidence. Someone had planned this. He needed answers. Fueled by a mix of fear and curiosity, Robert headed back to the hospital. He had to find Emily. She was the only one who could explain what had just happened. When he arrived at the hospital, however, he was met with more confusion. The nurses at the front desk had no record of anyone named Emily working there. Robert insisted, describing her appearance in detail, but the staff seemed genuinely puzzled. "It's impossible," one of the senior nurses said. "We don't have a nurse by that name," and there's no one here who fits that description. Frustration bubbled inside Robert. He wasn't imagining things, he had spoken to Emily, both in person and on the phone. But as the minutes passed, he began to question his own sanity. Had the stress of the day made him hallucinate? Was this some kind of elaborate setup? Refusing to give up, Robert demanded to see the hospital's security footage. Reluctantly, they agreed, and after what felt like an eternity, the footage was pulled up on the screen. To Robert's horror, the footage showed him leaving the hospital. Just days passed, and the incident at the skyscraper was all over the news. Investigations were launched, and it was revealed that the explosion had been a targeted attack. A disgruntled former employee, angry over being fired, had planted the bomb with the intent of causing as much destruction as possible. But none of this brought Robert any closer to understanding what had happened with Emily. As the weeks went by, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had been saved for a reason. Her warning had been real, even if she wasn't. Robert became obsessed with uncovering the truth, but no matter how hard he searched, he found nothing. Emily, or whoever she was, had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only questions. The experience left Robert changed. He began to question everything, his decisions, his life, his purpose. The control he had always prided himself on seemed like an illusion now. He had survived that day because of something beyond his understanding, and that thought both humbled and haunted him. In the end, Robert Sterling, the man who had once controlled everything, was left with a mystery that he could never solve. The only thing he knew for sure was that he owed his life to a stranger who had appeared in his life for a brief moment, only to disappear as mysteriously as she had come. And as for Emily, perhaps she was a warning, a guardian, or simply a figment of his imagination. But whatever she was, her words had saved him from a fate that no amount of power or wealth could have shielded him from. The end.